Good morning, welcome. This is my yoga practice that I did at the weekend, and it was a restorative session, approximately 25 minutes long, and one where I didn't even get off the floor, so didn't get off the mat. It was all done in seated or lying down. So I'm going to narrate some of it and some of the reasons why I was doing what I was doing, but feel free to switch the sound off if you want to, just to get some inspiration of different poses and how they go together. So I started sitting, as I say, tuning into my body, taking a moment to understand where I really was at and just notice the tension that was radiating throughout my whole body. It was crazy. Everything just felt tight, constricted. I could hardly breathe. So I knew that the first thing I needed to do was to do some overhead stretches and open up through the lungs, create some space so that the breath could be a little bit deeper. Having done that, I really thought that the smart thing to do was to continue with the shoulders, and so I spent some time with twists, holding the shoulders up, holding the palms facing down, engaging the core so that I could start to warm up and twist into that digestive area. As I say, engage the core, but also gives myself a little bit of a digestive massage. And once seated, that's easier to do than it is to do standing. From there, I moved on to releasing through the spine. So, nice big deep twist, pulling the shoulder back, squeezing into that right side of the digestive area, releasing the tension. This is where I started to realize how much tension I was holding in my hips and down through the sides, back side of my legs. It was just crazy. Not so much feeling it in the shoulders, but I knew that I was going to do some push-ups, so I wanted to do some work through that. Then I came into seated cat-cow. This is a really good option as opposed to kneeling, to open up through the front of the body as you lean forward and then open through the back of the body as you come back. So the inhale is as you go forward and the exhale as you drop back and chin goes to chest, opening through the shoulders. That one coming forward really stretches through the core, through the front of the body. If there's any tightness in the diaphragm area, that's when it's going to be a really good release for that. Always taking time between these restorative sessions to stop and just check in with where you're actually at, noticing the difference. And then I scooted over onto my hands and knees, activating the core with a modified plank, just hovering that knee off the floor, pushing through the wrists, engaging the shoulders, pulling the kneecap up, getting length through the back of the leg. It starts to warm us up so that less likely to do damage. And as the core is activated, then we're using it automatically for the rest of the practice. And then just literally coming up to down dog, stretching out through the back of the legs, noticing those calf muscles. A lot of tension in the calf muscles, especially from a lot of walking. Just really pushing down through one heel after the other, letting the head be heavy, so I was getting some lengthening through the neck as well, down through the spine. Down dog's really good because it takes the pressure off the wrists, whereas some of the ones with shoulders over wrists really load up my wrists. From here, it was a case of just dropping back down to the knees, but I felt like I could do something a little bit. So restorative doesn't necessarily mean easy, and tiger pose is a good challenge for balance, also for stretching, so flexibility in the shoulder, stretching in the quad, so it's a good all over. But there's a case of engaging the core to protect the lower back as you open up through the shoulder. Coming over to the other side. So by now I was starting to feel quite energized because I was doing some strong exercises, some strong poses, as well as the stretches and the releases. It was really only took to this point in the practice, and then I could start to actually feel, yeah, this is good. My wrists, the weakest point in my body, doing releases for the wrists, taking the pressure off them, stretching them out very gently, one at a time. Feeling the stretch going, radiating all the way up through the arms, and trying to get the fingers to the floor. Especially with my left middle finger, I really struggled to get that to the floor, so actively trying to move that through that finger. That back of the hand one, trying to get the wrist to the floor, so the stretch is all the way down through the wrist, down to the fingers and up the arm. So while I was working on the wrists, it seemed a very good idea to continue on the heart and lung meridian, and come in to thread the needle and continue the stretch, now stretching through the shoulder and into the neck. So staying in the same area. Checking in here that the toes were not curling up, that the lengthening was going all the way through the body, all the way down to the feet. Side, taking that really good deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth as you shift from side to side. It is a big emotional release for me. I always find that one gives a great sense of, as I say, release, satisfaction that it's whatever needed to be breathed out has been breathed out. Back of that, thinking that it was a really good idea to come into child's pose and just have a little bit of a recovery, so I used extended child's pose with the knees wide, forehead to floor to support the head, arms stretched and straight, can be bent, but for me this was a really good moment just to pause and reflect, letting the hips butt go back to the heels, hips pushing right back, getting length through the spine. And then taking the opportunity to do extended childs with side stretches. So walking the hands over to the right first and feeling the stretch all the way down the left side, left wrist to left hip. So most of these poses I was holding for like 3 to 5 breaths. They weren't big long yin poses. It was quite quick, moving from one to the other, but mindful of being in each pose and sinking into it for that moment of time, and seeing whether there was a need for a second version of something or whether one was enough for the day. So coming into upright, sitting back on the heels, noticing, and then tucking the toes under, because I thought, well, why not? If I'm going to sit here, I might as well do Thunderbolt, so get a stretch through the feet. And then I thought, yeah, go on eagle arms as well. So now I don't know whether it's my feet that are stretched and hurting or whether it's my shoulders. But having done the shoulder stretches with thread the needle, it does feel a little easier. So starting with the left on top of the right, stretching the right shoulder first and then swapping to do the other side, noticing the difference between each side. Bringing the elbows up to shoulder height and then deepening the stretch by bringing the hands away from the face. By now, we're almost 10 breaths into those toes getting stretched, and that's about my limit. But that's a great stretch, good for the digestion. Feel it in the instep. And then coming out, giving those feet a really good old kick to take all the tension out of them. And this time coming into saddle pose. So now the feet flat, walking the hands back, fingertips facing forward, feeling the stretch in the quads, dropping the head back. For me, that's not an issue, though it doesn't go very far back. It doesn't cause any problems in terms of feeling lightheaded, but just be very mindful of necks. Taking that moment, this time kneeling, to just reflect on where that's taken me. And then coming back down onto my back into bridge pose, actually. That stretch in the quads, I wanted to continue that with a stretch through the front of the body. So bringing my feet as close as I could to my hips and lifting up. Keeping the neck neutral. Relaxing the butt cheeks, glutes, so it's a hamstring, strengthening while you're stretching the quads. So always got that counter action going on. And then I thought I'd go into some hip releases, lower back releases. These I can actually hear and feel them go clunk, clunk, clunk all the way down my lower back as the spine adjusts itself. So the knees don't go to the floor, they just go hover. But we'll keep the hip flexors working, engaging to keep the legs where they are. Knees are over hips, not pulled up to the chest. And breathing out as I go down and breathing in as I pull the knees back to center. And then just hugging the knees in, just relaxing the lower back. And this is a cute one. It's called wind release pose. Yeah, hugging the right knee in, squeezing it right into the digestive system, flexing both feet, keeping the left leg off the floor. And now working into the digestion and the lower back. And getting the really good squeeze, letting go of anything, toxins in the hip. And then the fresh blood's coming in as you swap over to the other side, stretching out the right leg. And having had a little bit of recovery, then I think the question is, why not? Let's go back to bridge and do single leg. It's at that moment that I think, yeah, I can do that. This time left feet together, knees together, lifting up and stretching the right leg out, keeping the knees together. So the poses are getting a little stronger as I'm getting more confident, getting more energized without taking it into the crazy territory. It's just putting some strength work in as well as the stretches. Deep breathing going on. And now I thought, well, if I can do it with the knees bent, I can do it with the legs straight. So there's a lot more lever, a lot more weight to go up and down. So here's the hip releases, lower back releases with straight legs. Feet staying directly over the hips, not coming forward, not going back. Dropping over, breathing out as you're going down, and breathing in as you come up. And hugging the legs in, giving yourself a nice big hug. Rocking side to side, using the body weight to ease out the lower back. And then coming the other way, rocking forwards and backwards with the back curved, getting a release all the way down the spine. Making sure that the chin is tucked in so that you're not going back with a flat back. And then hovering in boat pose, using the core to hold you there. It's quite a lot of fun, actually. Nothing like being able to roll around the floor. And then releasing the hands off the legs to hover and hold. Deep breaths, steady eye gaze, concentration, endurance, building strength. And let's flick that round into butterfly, stretching in the inner thigh now. So you can see a lot of this work was based, if you're following along, feel it, a lot of this is based on the hips, lower back area. As I was stretching that, I had this moment where I thought we'll use the big toe pose and boat, lift up and see how the core's going, so strong and straight, rather than just doing a wide-legged forward fold, doing it sitting. So coming onto that balance point, holding, hovering, stretching through the back of the legs. Bringing the feet together. And after that effort, coming down and just crossing the legs left first and then right, and then just leaning forward, deepening the stretch, seeing if we can bring elbows to floor. Stacking the hands maybe and bringing forehead onto the hands. Keeping both hips on the floor, pushing the hips down into the floor, lengthening through the back. Folding inwards, taking a moment of reflection. Noticing the mind, noticing what the thoughts are that are coming up, and then swapping over to the other side. Folding back inwards. Now at this point I possibly could have just finished, but it occurs to me that I can continue on and do some inversions. So I set it up for plough. For me, this is okay on my back, on my neck, but for some people it really is an issue, so it comes with a word of caution. And see how my wrists are tweaked up. I can't flatten them out. I have my toes on the ground, so I don't need my hands on my back, but once I wanted to push myself over further, it made sense to bring my hands and then to lift up into shoulder stand. Engaging the core, trying to bring feet over knees, over hips. Tucking the chin in, lengthening through the neck. And then coming back to a second version of plough. Bringing the hands round behind, tucking the toes into the hands, which is a forward fold, but it's an upside down one. Very hard to breathe at this point because we've got this constriction going on in the chest and the throat area, which can be a little bit destabilizing. And then using the hands on the floor, on the back to support, very gently rolling back down. And using the counter pose of to plow is fish pose, so bringing the hands under the butt, pushing the elbows into the floor and lifting up, stretching now that area, that throat that was constricted just a moment ago is now being opened up. Energy flowing straight into that chakra. What is it? 5th chakra. Color blue. Looking back. And then I'm coming to the end now, so it looks like a spinal twist spinal twists are really good at the end. So bringing one foot on top of the knee, dropping the knees over to the right, looking over the left shoulder, hands out at shoulder height. So getting that stretch all the way down the spine, right from the head to the tail. Using the weight of the leg to bring the foot down, to bring the knee down, stretching out through the front of the hip. And swapping over to the other side, left foot on top of right, dropping them over to the left, looking over the right shoulder. Eyes are closed. Feeling that deep stretch. Feel the expansion down the spine, the mobility, fresh blood supply going into the spine, all the way down the spine, all those small muscles. And coming back to neutral, just stretching it out, noticing how that feels. And at this point, I just thought, you know what? I feel so much better, so much more expanded, so less contracted. Snow angel, just bringing the arms up, feeling that stretch now, feeling that expansion of energy of the field. And no need to play it small, that we can do what we need to do. We can change it. We can get on the mat and change our outcome. Taking time at this point just to, as I move my arms up, just to readjust around that chest area, upper back area. Noticing now how that, what did feel closed off, blocked off, is feeling a little more open, a little bit more movement. Breath is deeper. There's more space for breath, more space for the life force within us. And then coming into Shavasana, to corpse pose, just taking a moment, bringing the hands onto the diaphragm and noticing that life force that's within us, noticing how the whole body feels relaxed, energized. How the mind is clearer than it was. How anything is possible. How the body is supporting all the actions that we want to do in our lives. Just bending the left knee to roll over onto the right side, just checking to make sure that everything is okay before we come on up, taking a moment, keeping the eye